The doors sealed behind me before I even understood I had been summoned. One moment I was walking the outer corridor of the hive spire, keeping my eyes low the way I always did, and the next moment 2 guards with shells like polished obsidian gripped my arms and pulled me through a gate that was never supposed to open for someone like me. My heart slammed against my ribs. In 3 years of living among the Velen, no human had ever been taken through that gate. Not one. That gate led to her. The guards released me in a chamber so vast it swallowed sound. Light dripped down from veins in the ceiling, pale gold, pulsing like a heartbeat. And there, resting on a throne carved from a single piece of dark crystal, was the queen of the Velen hive herself. I had seen her only twice before, from a distance, during ceremonies where I was told not to breathe too loud. Up close, she was terrifying, in a way that made my mouth go dry. Her body was elegant and alien, taller than any doorframe, her limbs folded with a grace that looked almost gentle, until you remembered what those limbs could do. Her eyes, dark and endless, fixed on me the second I entered. I dropped into the deepest bow I knew, the one reserved for gods and funerals. "Rise," she said. Her voice was smooth, layered, like 3 voices speaking at once in perfect harmony. I rose, but I kept my gaze on the floor, exactly as I had been trained to do since the day I arrived on this world, as part of the peace mission between our 2 species. "Look at me, human." I hesitated. Nobody looked at the queen, not her generals, not her scientists, not even the highest priests of her own hive. To look at her was to invite her attention, and her attention was said to be dangerous. I said, "Look at me." Slowly, I lifted my head. Her eyes bore into mine, and for a long moment neither of us spoke. The silence stretched so tight I thought it might snap. "Why do you avoid me, human?" she asked. The question hit me like a slap. I blinked, certain I had misheard her. "Your Majesty," I said carefully, "I do not avoid you. I show you respect. Among my people, distance is a form of honor towards someone as powerful as you." Her head tilted, an oddly human gesture on such an inhuman face. "Honor," she repeated, as if tasting the word and finding it bitter. "For 3 years, you have walked these halls. For 3 years, you have bowed to me from across rooms, refused my gifts, refused my invitations, refused to sit near me during gatherings. You leave when I enter. You never speak unless I speak first. Is that not avoidance?" I opened my mouth, then closed it again. When she listed it out like that, it did sound exactly like avoidance. "I did not mean to make you feel that way," I said. "Then what did you mean?" I searched for the right words, aware that an entire species might be judged by how I answered this question. Where I come from, when someone holds great power, we give them space unless invited closer. It is not fear. It is not disgust. It is meant to say, "I know your time and your presence are valuable, and I will not intrude upon them." The queen studied me the way a scientist studies something under glass. Then she stood, and I felt the weight of her attention like a physical pressure. "Among my people," she said, "there is no such custom. From the moment I hatched, I have never been alone. My hive surrounds me always. They touch me. They speak to me without pause. They orbit me like moons around a planet. To be given space is not honor to us. It is rejection. It means someone finds you unbearable to be near." Something in her voice cracked slightly on the last word, so faint I almost missed it. I stared at her. This being who commanded armies and ruled a species spanning 3 star systems, and for the first time I saw something unexpected in her expression. Not power, not menace, loneliness. "You truly believed I found you unbearable," I said quietly. "What else was I to believe? Every other creature that comes before me either worships me or fears me. You do neither. You simply stand there, silent, distant, as though I am something to be endured rather than approached." She paused. I began to think perhaps your entire species felt the same about me. That humans found me repulsive and were too polite to say it. I felt something twist in my chest. All this time, my careful respect, the very thing I thought was honoring her, had been read as rejection. I thought of every bow, every lowered eye, every step I took backward to give her room, and I understood now how each one must have landed like a small wound. "Your Majesty," I said, "may I speak plainly, without ceremony?" Her eyes narrowed slightly, curious. "You may." I took a breath. This was not protocol. This was not anything I had been trained for, but it felt like the only true thing to do. "You are not unbearable to be near," I said. "You are the opposite. From the first day I saw you, I thought you were the most remarkable being I had ever encountered. That is exactly why I kept my distance. Where I come from, when something matters greatly to us, we are careful with it. We do not grab, we do not crowd, we do not assume we are welcome. We wait to be invited, because the alternative feels disrespectful, even cruel." She was silent for a long moment, studying me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. "Show me," she said finally. "Show me what your kind does, when you are not being careful, when you are simply being yourselves." I hesitated only a second. Then I stepped forward, closing the distance I had kept for 3 years, until I stood near enough that I could see the fine patterns shifting across her dark eyes, like slow-moving galaxies. I raised my hand, palm open, the way I would to any person back home. "This is how we greet someone we respect and wish to know better," I said. "A hand offered, never forced. You may take it, or you may not." For a moment, nothing happened. The chamber around us seemed to hold its breath. Then, slowly, deliberately, she extended one of her long limbs and pressed it against my open palm. Her touch was cool and smooth, stronger than steel, yet the gesture itself was almost fragile, like something she had never dared attempt before. "This is strange," she said softly. "Good strange, or bad strange? I do not know yet." A pause. "Ask me again later." I allowed myself the smallest smile. "I will." Behind her, I noticed 2 of her attendants shifting uneasily, clearly unsettled by what they were witnessing. No one touched the queen without her explicit command. No one stood this close without invitation. But she did not pull away, and she did not order me back. She simply watched me, this new and unfamiliar creature standing where no one had stood before. "Tell me more of your customs," she said. "I wish to understand this distance you spoke of. If it is not rejection, then it must be something else entirely, something my hive has never had reason to develop." So I told her. I told her about privacy, about how humans value moments alone, not because we dislike each other, but because solitude lets us hear our own thoughts clearly. I told her about consent, about how touch and closeness among humans are chosen freely, never assumed, never demanded, and how that freedom is what makes closeness meaningful when it happens. I told her about friendship, about how trust is built slowly, brick by brick, rather than granted instantly through blood or hierarchy. She listened to all of it without interrupting, her eyes never leaving mine, absorbing every word, like a mind starving for something it did not know it needed. "In my hive," she said, when I finished, "nothing is chosen. Loyalty is bred into every worker, every soldier, every attendant. They surround me because they must, not because they wish to. I have never known what it means to have someone stand this close to me by their own will and not by command." "You do now," I said. Something shifted in her expression then, something I had never seen on an alien face before, something that looked remarkably close to wonder. "Perhaps this is why your species unsettles mine so deeply," she said. "You do not simply follow strength. You choose it, or you refuse it, entirely on your own terms. Even standing before a queen who could end your existence with a single word, you weigh your actions by some measure I cannot fully see. It should make you weak. Instead, somehow, It makes you formidable. We are stubborn about our freedom, I admitted, even when it costs us. I see that now, she said. And I see that your distance was never a wall against me. It was a kind of gift I did not know how to recognize. We stood there a while longer, the queen of an entire hive civilization, and one human diplomat who had simply tried to be respectful, both of us slowly rebuilding what a single misunderstanding had almost broken. Word of that meeting spread quickly through the spire, and then further, through the colonies, through the star systems under Velen control. Attendants who had never questioned their unwavering devotion began to wonder what it might feel like to choose their loyalty rather than simply carry it. Soldiers who had only ever known command began asking quiet questions about will and freedom, ideas borrowed entirely from a species that never meant to teach them. I never expected that a single misunderstood question, "Why do you avoid me, human?" could unravel so much and rebuild so much more in its place. But that is often how the biggest changes begin, not with armies, not with speeches, just two beings, finally standing close enough to understand each other.